What is up, everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode, and we are here for round number 4 of Season 7 of our Jaguar Racing career, and I'm very excited for this one. It is, of course, the Chinese Grand Prix, and if you've been watching the channel for a little while now, you may remember the Chinese Grand Prix we had last year, which it was a wet race, a very exciting battle between myself and Charles Leclerc, which ended up in a victory for myself and a 1-2 for the team, and we're riding a high at the moment off the back of a victory in the Australian Grand Prix as well. We had a great race there, started from P5 on the grid, made our way up to P2, P3 at the start of the race, and then we managed to battle our way through from third to take the lead and hold on to the remainder, or for the remainder of the Grand Prix to take the win there for the first time in my career in Australia as well. So yeah, I was pretty happy with that, and I'm hoping that we can keep the winning streak going. We have a chance, if we can win today, to seize control of the Drivers' Championship. George Russell currently sits a few points ahead of us off the back of getting a win in Bahrain, and I believe he also had a podium in Saudi Arabia. So yeah, he's also doing pretty well so far this season. We've had a P4 in Saudi Arabia and a P1 in Australia, of course. So I think we currently sit about 3 points behind him in the driver's standings. We sit in, I think, P2 or P3 in the constructor standings at the moment as well. So hopefully we'll be able to get a good team result, myself and Charles Leclerc, to hopefully take control of the Constructors' Championship today. It does suggest that there is a slight chance of rain during the race, but I'm optimistic that that won't happen. Only 24%. It's pretty unlikely that it will happen, but it's something we do have to look out for and be prepared for. If I remember correctly, actually, last year, the rain kind of helped me a little bit compared to in years gone by when it's not been so wet, and I've kind of had to just settle for the fact that everyone's perpetually overtaking me on that big long straight where they seem to have infinite battery, and the DRS is super powerful and all that kind of thing. Practice was actually pretty good. On the current setup, I feel quite comfortable, more so than in previous years, I would say. So I'm optimistic we can at least get some points here. Whether we can get the win or not remains to be seen, I guess. It will be largely dependent on our performance here in qualifying, I think, and then trying not to go backwards during the race if it can be avoided, but it is easier said than done. We will no doubt be under the pressure of all the cars that qualify in and around the position that we do. And hopefully, yeah, we'll be able to resist some pressure throughout the race, but I don't think it'll be smooth sailing by any stretch of the imagination. As we make our way into Q1 now, and our first time on a fresh set of soft compound tyres is a 1:29.6, and it puts us fastest initially in Q1. However, I'd be surprised if this is still the fastest time come the end of the session as well. And indeed, as we make our way to the final corner of our second flying lap on another fresh set of soft compound tyres, you can see we were down in P8, but we are improving by 0.3 of a second, and that is going to push us from P8 up to P4 as we cross the line here in Q1. We'll be through to Q2, and hopefully we'll be able to deliver a good performance in Q2 as well. Fastest time did belong to Charles Leclerc, a couple tenths faster than me, followed by Hauger and Piastri, some other very strong drivers at this stage of our career. Knocked out in Q1 was Frederick Vesti, the two-time pole sitter so far this season. Knocked out in Q1 this time, along with Pourchaire, De Vries, Doohan, Tsunoda and Stroll. No real surprises from that group of drivers, I would say. But as for Frederick Vesti, a little bit of a surprise given that he's been, on the podium so far this season. He's had a good points finish in Australia as well. 2 poles to his name in both of the races that he scored points in as well. It's a little bit surprising to see him out so early. But as we do a banker here, it was initially good enough for P3. That's now obviously knocked down to P4 as Albon goes fastest. And it would have been good enough for P9, even if we hadn't gone for another lap. But we did anyway on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, and improved by 0.6 of a second down to a 1:29.3. And that is good enough to see us through to Q3 in P2. So nice to get through to Q3 in China. Doesn't always happen, but we've been a little bit better at it recently. And it's actually Sergio Perez who goes 1/100th of a second faster than me there. Only 14,000th separating the top 3 of myself, Perez and Albon. But Charles Leclerc knocked out here in Q2, along with Ocon, who is a bit of a championship contender this season, so a bit of a surprise there to see him out. And then Fittipaldi and Lawson in the Williams, Magnussen in the McLaren, and Joe in the Alfa Romeo that did make it out of Q1. So yeah, very disappointing there. Only P14 from Leclerc. Hopefully he'll be able to battle his way through to grab some points, but of course he didn't do that in Saudi Arabia. He only went backwards, if anything. so hopefully he'll be able to do a bit better this time in China, but we'll see. 1:29.7 is our banker lap on a used set of soft compound tyres this time, and now we will see what kind of lap time we can do on a fresh set of soft compound tyres as we make our way into the final straight. You can see we're already 0.6 of a second up. I don't know if this will be good enough for pole position or not. We're on for about a 1:29.1, I would say, at the moment, but do we have any more time to make up in the last few corners? We make our way into the hairpin. What kind of time are we going to get on the exit of the hairpin here? It seems like we've improved by a little bit, maybe about 4 or 5 hundredths of a second. Round the final corner now, any more improvement? Yes, a lot, more than a tenth of a second now, and as we cross the line, it looked like it was a 1:28.9 actually, and that is good enough for pole position. Wow, I did not expect that we would be getting into the 1:28s this weekend, but I'm very, very happy with that.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Robinson, Russell and Sergio Perez. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
Well, it really is the me and Russell show today, because 0.003 of a second is all that separated myself from my compatriot there, and Sergio Perez completes the top 3 drivers in qualifying here today. So we'll now have to see whether we can deliver the same level of performance that we showed in qualifying in the race, or will we go backwards. Either way, we'll see what we can do as we get into the Chinese Grand Prix.
The Chinese Grand Prix then is upon us once again. A race that saw Michael Schumacher claim his final Formula 1 victory in 2006, as well as Red Bull's first with Sebastian Vettel in 2009. There's no doubt plenty more drama to come here in Shanghai. Shanghai International Circuit then is a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests the driver's patience, and the flat open to the elements location tests their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and they're available into turn 1 and down the kilometre-long back straight into turn 14. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Robinson lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Perez, Norris, Sargent, Albon, Verstappen, Hauger, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Fittipaldi, Liam Lawson, Leclerc, Gasly, Magnussen, Zhou, Vesti, Teo Porcher, De Vries, Doohan, Tsunoda, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. And now it's time to head down to the track. And Anthony Davidson joins us for this one. And great to have your company. There's no weather to worry about here. What will be going through the drivers' minds as they finish these last-minute preparations?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Okay, we've got that relief of having points on the board finally, so let's keep that form up and get another top 10 finish today, please.
It will be difficult, and I'm sure that those of you who've been long-term viewers of the channel will harken back to the era where I would quite frequently get a decent qualifying position in the Chinese Grand Prix, and before you know it, all of a sudden I'm finding myself all the way down in the low positions of P10, P11, P12, so on and so forth. Will that happen here today? I'm not 100% sure, because I have actually taken the time since those days to update my setup to be more in line with the way that the game currently plays. So we should hopefully be running a decent setup here, but I still don't know what my pace is going to be like here, especially considering there is a lot of cars here with the soft compound tyres, whereas I'm running the medium compound tyres. So it really is a bit of a thing that we'll have to wait and see how that affects the outcome of the race. But either way, we'll see what we can do as the lights come on and the lights go out, and we've had a good getaway, I think, compared to George Russell. No, actually, he's a little bit faster in the second phase here, and George Russell taking the lead of the Chinese Grand Prix off the start there. And now we're coming under pressure from Logan Sargent in the Aston Martin. He's had a blinding start all the way up to P3 already. You might remember, if you watched last year's race, Logan Sargent was contending for not only the podium places, but actually for the win in the Chinese Grand Prix last year. And he ended up having to pit due to damage because Charles Leclerc kind of cut across him and caused a bit of damage to his front wing. And Logan Sargent ended up leaving that race pointless on that occasion. He obviously did go on to grab a podium in Silverstone a little bit later on in the season, so he didn't end up forfeiting his first Formula 1 podium, but this would be a good opportunity for a second podium for the Aston Martin driver here, and also an opportunity for him to show that he's not necessarily just the number 2 driver to Dennis Hauger, who has been the far superior driver in that team since that partnership began last season. Dennis Hauger going on, of course, to take 3 wins in Formula 1 last season. Sargent only managed 1 podium. And here comes Logan Sargent. He's going to look to maybe challenge for the win today in China because he's already making his way past me. We're going to try and stay with him if we can, dummy him to the inside of the hairpin, and then we're going to try and send it around the outside of him as we break into the hairpin, go around the outside of Logan Sargent and make our way back into the P2 that we were in before, ahead of the American Aston Martin driver. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see how the race is going to unfold. Already George Russell has gapped us by 2 seconds after overtaking us off the line, and Logan Sargent's coming back for round 2 into the first corner. He pushes us out of the way, but we're going to try and stay in the fight if we can, wheel to wheel with Logan Sargent through turns 1, 2 and 3, and I think we're actually managing to just about stay ahead of the American driver on this occasion. No damage on the car, even though that was a bit of a hefty contact between myself and Sargent, but as we make our way down into the hairpin, Logan Sargent is going to be fractionally ahead of us, and we're going to have to settle into P3 at least probably until the DRS zone. But honestly, with the amount of downforce I'm running on the car, I'd be very surprised if I can actually catch him in the DRS zone today. We'll see what it looks like. But you can see, even just from overtaking me to the hairpin, he's already gapped me by 0.8 of a second. So the soft compound tyre is working a real treat at the moment as Sergio Perez makes his way through and up into P3 here in the Chinese Grand Prix. We're going to try and see if we can stay with Perez, but I'm not 100% sure whether this is going to be particularly possible or not, because he is very, very pacey today, the Ferrari driver. He's not got off to the best of starts this season, actually, Perez, given that in previous seasons he's kind of looked like he might want to get involved in championship fights. He's always just been a little bit of a cut below the required standard to be able to challenge for the championships, but Sergio Perez definitely, he's got many race wins and lots and lots of podiums, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he does show some good pace once again. But at the moment he's just not really delivering the level that you would expect from him this season, but maybe it's a chance to really sort of make good on that here in China today. But now I'm coming under more pressure from the cars behind. Norris and Ocon are piling a lot of pressure on me, the Mercedes driver and the Red Bull driver, as Norris is looking for a move up the inside of me here. We're going to see if we can stay with him with the DRS and burning a bit of battery as well. But here comes Esteban Ocon on my outside. I can't move all the way to the outside, and I think Ocon's going to try and get 2 moves done in one corner if he can as we go off the track momentarily there. We get pushed a little bit wide because the alternative was slowing right down and slamming on the brakes, and Ocon has made up 2 positions in the space of one corner there, and we've actually managed to get back ahead of Norris as well, pushing him out wide a little bit. That's cost him a position not only to Alex Albon, but I think also now he's coming under pressure from behind from, I think, Oscar Piastri. Yes, Oscar Piastri getting ahead of Lando Norris as well. So he's lost, 3 positions as a result of that? He was looking to take P4. He now finds himself all the way down in P8, Lando Norris. That was a disastrous attempt at an overtake for the Mercedes driver, and we'll have to see whether he can make up the positions once again. But now the threat from behind turns into his teammate Alex Albon, of course, who will be looking to make up the positions. You can see Ocon again has just gapped me by so much since he made the overtake in the same position on the previous lap. We now have to try and defend from Alex Albon here, who's going to go for a move into the hairpin up the inside. We will of course have the outside line, but will that be enough to keep him behind? I don't know. We hold on for the time being, but round the final corner we are going to still be in P5. Alex Albon only 0.2-0.3 of a second behind me at the moment. So with the DRS, is he going to look for a move into turn 1, much like Sargent did on lap 2? I think he is. Can we stick around the outside of the Thai driver as we go through turns 1 and 2. Alex Albon, he's keeping his foot firmly in here, but this time I think we may just have the superior grip and the superior traction compared to the soft compound runners to get away with that one and keep Alex Albon at bay. He's looking for a move, but he can't quite find it on this occasion, and Alex Albon will have to stay P6 for the time being. Goodness me, what a start to the race this has been. And, well, there's more carnage coming along now as Sergio Perez is going to be retiring from the race. You can see here he's going really slowly all of a sudden, and this is going to promote us back up into P4 ahead of Sergio Perez, who is out of the Chinese Grand Prix. A real shame for him, because this would have been an opportunity to actually get some points on the board this season for a change, as we get our second track limits warning there now, so we have to be careful now for the rest of the race not to do it again. But yeah, Sergio Perez, he is really hoping that he can bounce back sooner rather than later. He kind of needed to do it today, and it hasn't happened for him for one reason or another. So yeah, it's not going to be many more races that I think Ferrari are going to tolerate him, as far as I understand, going pointless so far this season, as Oscar Piastri looking for a move on me now into the hairpin. Can we hang it around the outside of him? I think we just about can, but yeah, coming under a lot of pressure right now from the cars behind, and basically as soon as they get ahead, they are breaking away at pace. I don't know how far George Russell is ahead of me, but it's looking like it's a similar gap behind him to Sargent as it is between Sargent and Ocon. So I'd say probably about what, 8 seconds up the road from me in 6 laps. That's pretty significant from George Russell there. As we make our way now onto the end of lap 8, you can see Oscar Piastri is going to make the move up into P4 and take the position away from me. And we're going to be pushed back down into P5, where we were, of course, before Sergio Perez retired. The McLaren driver, it's been a long time since he's last won in Formula 1. I bring it up pretty much every time. And every race, I'm thinking to myself, is this finally going to be the one that Piastri wins? I think he's going to need a safety car here in China to get himself back in range of the cars in front, because George Russell, I don't think, is going to give up 10 seconds to Oscar Piastri over the next 20 laps. But Oscar Piastri might have more to worry about than that, because we, with the superior downforce, we are going to be going into turn 1 and diving up the inside of Oscar Piastri, getting back ahead of the Australian driver, back up into P4. You thought I was going to take it lying down? I will never take anything lying down. Oscar Piastri, he's going to make the move on us once again through the DRS zone with that superior straight line speed and the DRS, the ERS, all the tools for overtaking afforded to him today, as we opted for a bit more of a high downforce setup, but that has made us superior compared to these cars through turn 1, and hopefully we'll be able to use that to our advantage once again as we try and stay with Oscar Piastri as best as we can. We are currently just a couple tenths behind him, so we're going to have to look for a move to the inside of him. Not quite close enough to think about sending it right at the beginning of the corner, but maybe halfway through the corner like we did last time. We are going to go up the inside of Oscar Piastri and make our way back into P4 once again. And this is a tooth and nail battle between myself and the McLaren driver right now. Neither one of us wants to give up this position, and especially not me. You know, I need to stay in this championship fight, especially because my championship rival at the moment, the man who is leading the championship, is also leading the race. So we need to try and do as much damage limitation we can points-wise to him as is possible, because he will be scoring the full complement of 25, possibly 26 points today if he scores the fastest lap as well. So Oscar Piastri, as he makes his third attempted overtake on me now, will he be far enough ahead of me to stop me from going up the inside of him through turn 1, as has happened on the previous 2 laps before this one? You can see we're still very close to him. Are we going to look for a move to the inside? Is Oscar Piastri going to cover it off? No, he's not. And there we are, back into P1 once again for the 3rd consecutive lap. We have managed to hold on to the position through sheer downforce and nothing else. You can see how powerful my downforce is today. I'm really becoming a bit of an ambassador for downforce mechanicalism today, as Piastri goes up the inside of us once again. But actually this time he wasn't close enough to even make the move in the first place. So I think we're going to hold on to this position, but it will give him another bite of the cherry through to the pit straight, because he will have the DRS now down on the run to turn 1. He's only 3 tenths behind us, so is he going to look for a move up the inside? Oscar Piastri, here he comes to the inside. Can we stick around the outside of him this time? Yes, we can. The superior downforce working nice and well for us, because he has to go very slowly through the corner in order to make the corner compared to how we would with the increased downforce on our car. So Oscar Piastri, once again, for the 4th time has to stay in P5. He can't make the move stick. However, now, I think if he's not boxing, he will be able to take the position at least momentarily. But Oscar Piastri is coming into the pits, and as are we. We're going to be boxing onto the hard compound of tyres. I would be surprised if they don't go onto the medium compound of tyres. You can see Russell and Sargent already have gone onto the medium compound of tyre. So, yeah, we will be boxing onto the hard compound tyre, and hopefully we'll have enough pace on this tyre compared to the people who are boxing on the medium tyres. I definitely think towards the end of the race we'll have the superior pace compared to these guys, but it is still a fairly long time before we actually get to that point in the first place. You know, we're going to have to resist a lot of the early pressure from the likes of Piastri and Norris and all the other cars behind if we want any chance, basically, of holding on to this position, and it might be a bit too much of a tall order now. That said, though, Oscar Piastri, 2.4 seconds behind us all of a sudden. The advantage did not last long, however, as we make our way onto lap 14. Oscar Piastri now looking for a move up the inside. Once again, he is going to be much further ahead of me into the hairpin this time compared to previous laps. I think he's got quite a lot of traction, quite a lot of grip in the car compared to previous laps. So, yeah, we wouldn't be surprised if we saw him maybe actually hold on to this position this time. I gotta have a good run through the final corner, and I don't think it's been good enough. Usually I'm like 3 or 4 tenths behind him on the run to turn 1. This time it's 6 tenths, so I don't think that we'll really be afforded an opportunity to dive up the inside of Oscar Piastri this time, and indeed you can see we're not close enough at any moment to go for the move. Oscar Piastri, he has to settle for well, I say he has to settle, we have to settle, I should say, for staying in P5 now, and all we'll have to try and do is stay with Oscar Piastri if we can, try and stick with him through the DRS zones and not lose too much ground to him. But you can see we actually aren't going to get the DRS on him on this occasion, and this is going to invite Lando Norris into the fold. Actually, we do have the DRS, but look how close Norris is even before the DRS was activated. He was only like less than a tenth behind me before that point. So here comes Lando Norris. He's made his way up into P5 now, and well, could this be the beginning of the end of our points hopes today? How many people are going to be able to get in touch here and get ahead of us before the end of the race? There's still another 13 laps to go. Lots can happen in 13 laps, and we're going to have to try and stay with Lando Norris if we can. We've managed to do a more successful job of staying with him than we did with Oscar Piastri on the previous lap. Are we close enough to go for a move this time, though? Up the inside, we kind of barge him out the way a little bit. Somehow we don't get damage, and somehow that is considered a legal move on Lando Norris. We left that one a little bit late compared to the defences we put up against Oscar Piastri on the first stint, but I mean, look, a move is a move, and we've made it. So we're going to make our way now through lap 16, and I think you know what's coming at this stage. It has been a back and forth battle over and over again, and here comes Lando Norris once again making his way up into P5. And now we just have to wait and see whether we'll stay close enough to him to make the move into turn 1. Once again, it is just a repeat over and over again of the same thing. You may remember, if you've been watching the channel for a very long time, or maybe you went back and watched a lot of my old videos or something like that, on F1 22 in Season 2 in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, we had a similar situation where I remember I basically went for the same move on every single lap to defend from, I think it was George Russell, to take P4 in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix on that occasion. And that was like one of the most crazy defences I think I've ever put up in a Formula 1 race. This is starting to be up there with that, in my opinion, because this is ridiculous. I think by this point, I mean, what lap are we on? We're on lap 17. So by this point, if my notes are correct, I've made that move 5 times already. 6 if you include the one round the outside of Piastri as well that time. So I've defended into that corner and stopped someone from completing an overtake on me effectively 6 times. And I think we're about to go for a 7th here as well, as Lando Norris has overtaken us. And as we make our way into lap 18 now, we're going to try and dive up the inside of Lando Norris once again. And we do manage to make the move happen again. Lando Norris has taken P6 once again. He just can't seem to stay in P5 for love nor money. As we now make our way towards the end of lap 18, Lando Norris, is he going to go for a move again? He doesn't look quite as close as he was on previous laps, so I don't think this is going to be as cut and dry for the Mercedes driver on this occasion. Wheel to wheel this time as we go through the hairpin, and we actually do manage to hold on to this position, but we are going to invite him to kind of have another go at us on this occasion, that means. So yeah, we're going to be burning a little bit of battery on the run down to turn 1, but not a significant amount. Lando Norris, he's closing the gap very, very quickly to the inside of the corner. He's actually, is he going to try and muscle us out of the way? I really thought he was going to muscle us out of the way for a second there, but we stay wheel to wheel through the corner, and Lando Norris is going to have to still settle for P6. He just can't make the move. He is getting so frustrated behind me, you would have to imagine. And as we make our way onto lap 19 now, we are going to be overtaken by Lando Norris once again, and we'll see if we can do it for what would be the 5th time on Lando Norris now, defending this position from a driver who has been a rival of ours on so many occasions over the 2 games that we've done career modes on now. Season 4, our championship fight went down to the wire. Season 5, our championship fight went down to the wire. And in Season 7, it seems like our battle for the lead of the race is going down to the wire. But Alex Albon, he might have just kind of cut that off. I said the lead of the race earlier, didn't I? I meant P5. Our battle for P5 might go down to the wire. But Alex Albon, he may have got the instructions from the team. Just do what you can to allow Lando to break away. And it might have worked as we make our way towards the end of lap 20. You can see the gap now to Lando Norris is 1.2 seconds. And I think he may have actually managed to make this move happen. And, well, his teammate's looking for it now, as you can see, as all this battling with Lando Norris has built a significant train behind us as well. Verstappen is involved, Leclerc is involved, I think that's Lawson behind them as well. So, yeah, there's quite a few cars involved in this one. I think maybe Hauger's in there as well, or I think Hauger's actually further down the order in about P14 by the looks of things, so maybe not. As we go from a long way back this time to reclaim the position on Alex Albon, and now he's going to have to experience what he can, or what his teammate experienced,
nice move. Keep
to not be able to make the overtake on me for several consecutive laps. As we move on to lap 23 now, you can see this is Max Verstappen in the Ferrari retiring from the race. So it's going to be a Ferrari double DNF here today in China, as Perez retired obviously all the way back on lap 6. 6 laps before the end, it's his teammate whose car is kind of cutting out on this occasion, and we're riding on board with us this time on the run into the hairpin on lap 24. How close is Alex Albon to us? You can imagine he's probably going to be quite close, right? And you can see actually he's just about ahead of us as we make our way into the braking zone here, and we almost crashed into the back of him. We had to take a bit of a wide line through there, but we are so close on the back of him right now as we look from the angle of the camera on our front wing. You can see how close the gap was for a second there. Will we be close enough to make a move? I thought there was smoke coming out the back of his car. I actually think it was just him kicking up dust. And you can see we're going to look for a move to the inside of turn 1, dive up the inside, but look, he's gone quite wide to cover us off. Will we be able to get up the inside once again? Yes, we will. Make our way into turns 2 and 3 ahead of the attacking car. Once again, they just can't make this move happen. No matter how hard they try, they will never be able to do it. First, second, or even third try. It's going to take a truck with a tow rope to move me from my position at the moment. So as we make our way onto lap 26, you can see we are running in P6 with Alex Albon still trying to get the position off me, boot me down into P7 if he can. And, well, he's overtaken us for the time being, but we're going to try and go for a move for what I think would be the 11th time in this race. In 26 laps, we'll make the same move 11 times if we can pull it off on this occasion. 4/10 is the gap. There's a bit of a gap forming behind us as well. I think as Leclerc was kind of held up by the retiring Verstappen, that may be obviously cost him a bit of time. We're going to go up the inside of Alex Albon once again here on lap 27. And, yeah, we are once again holding on to P6. We're not a million miles back from his teammate as well. Lando Norris hasn't really broken away in the way that I expected he would. So part of me for a while thought I might be able to catch him, but that doesn't seem like, as we're 1.8 seconds behind him on the final lap, that doesn't seem like it's going to materialise. Here's the biggest issue with the strategy that we've been doing for pretty much the whole race at this point. Obviously, the corner in which we retake the position is after the finish line, but the corner in which we get overtaken is before the finish line. So on this occasion, I actually will have to defend my position from Alex Albon. I can't let him get past and then utilise the DRS and the superior downforce to make the overtake back on him. I'm going to need to actually hold on to the position this time. And you can see as we make our way towards the hairpin, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that. Alex Albon diving up the inside. Who's got the better grip on the exit of the corner? I think it's me on this occasion, actually, and that might have been Alex Albon's last opportunity to take P6 in the race. As we round the final corner, it was George Russell who won the race, but we are going to cross the line to take P6, and a solid, hard-earned 8 points considering everything that's happened here today. I was kind of surprised that we were that competitive here in China compared to previous years, but I am still pretty happy with the result. Esteban Ocon driver of the day, and it is P6 for us.
It's a performance to be proud of from our Chinese Grand Prix winners today. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
Well, it is George Russell in the Red Bull taking the victory here today, and it is a 1-2 for Red Bull as well, which is catastrophic for our Constructors' Championship chances as we take P6 and P8 as Jaguar Racing. And it's the Aston Martin that finishes on the podium as well, of Logan Sargent on this occasion. Dennis Hauger having the stronger start to the season compared to his teammate, but Sargent maybe fighting back in that teammate battle a little bit, and we'll see what kind of pace he shows in the races to come.
So let's see how the drivers' standings have changed. That's a positive result for George Russell, who further solidifies his position at the top of the standings. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
There's a few contenders, but George Russell definitely stood out, I think. A really solid drive from him today, and one I'm sure the fans enjoyed.
It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. Red Bull pull further ahead in the standings. There is also a strong showing from the Mercedes team today as they make their way up the standings. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Well, as we check the standings there, perhaps what I said about Sargent and Hauger isn't true, because Sargent currently occupies P5 in the drivers' standings. I bet those of you who are new here probably weren't expecting to see something like that. Or maybe you were, I don't know. But either way, we're still in P2, about 20 points behind George Russell now, but it's still a long season ahead of us. 19 more races yet to come, so every chance in the world that we'll still be able to overturn our compatriot and get to the lead of the championship, but there's still going to be a bit of a ways to go before that moment. It's Esteban Ocon, who sits in P3 in that Drivers' Championship as well, only 1 point behind us, so a good race for him. Could easily see him get involved in the championship fight as well. And then Lando Norris currently sat in P4. Maybe he'll have a bit of a better year this year than he had last year, especially considering, as I mentioned earlier on, we were fighting tooth and nail all the way through Seasons 4 and Season 5, and he just wasn't really there. In Season 6. In fact, no one was really there. We won the Drivers' Championship with about 4 or 5 races to go, which just goes to show how uncompetitive last year was. This year seems to be shaping up better from what I've seen so far, but obviously I'll take it with a grain of salt, because at this stage of last season as well, we didn't look like we were going to win the championship, and we ended up winning it with 5 races to go. So anything can happen in these seasons, and you know, I could have a sudden massive uptick in performance, win 3 races in a row and something like that, or we could suddenly find ourselves on the receiving end of a bunch of DNFs and whatnot. So there really is nothing you can do to predict the outcome of any of these races or anything like that. But Charles Leclerc did make his way from P13 to P8, so he at least grabbed some points, stayed competitive in the championship. I believe we're sat in P2 in the Constructors' Championship now after that race, as Alpine had a bit of a frustrating one, only scoring very minimal points, I think, with Gasly. Sort of, I think he was down on the fringes of the points Vesti failed to score, from what I remember, which you know, is quite disappointing for them, given the strong start to the season that well, both drivers have had. To be honest, they had a double podium in Saudi Arabia, of course. So yeah, a bit of a surprise to see them a little bit less competitive here this weekend, but maybe they'll bounce back in the next race, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the Baku street circuits around Azerbaijan. So we'll see what kind of performance we can deliver there. It's not going to be easy because that is a track that historically we've struggled at quite a lot when it comes to things like traction and grip and whatnot. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we come under a bit more pressure from the cars around us in that race, and maybe even fail to score points, never mind you know, fail to win. If we can get a podium or a victory there, it will be nothing short of astounding, because it's something we've never done before. My best result there, I think, was 4th. So yeah, it will be new territory to tread if that is the case, but I'll try nonetheless. And that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.